Welcome to Tammy Nation. Let's go.
From 9 to 5, been biting my tongue for all this time. Won't let anyone cut me short. I was thinking this was the way to go, and you put up your puppet show. I say cheers to life. No, I'll be no good man's wife. Just leave me alone. I'm running the show. I'm telling you, it's my time to rise up. Live the life I'm proud of. No, you better go.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Tammy Nation tonight. I decided to pop on last minute here because I did watch Mr. T's speech from Club 45. And I thought it was really important to maybe at this time discuss some of the points he made in that speech to see if it reflects points that we are concerned about and the next person that we go and do the V for in 2024. I have to use some code words, as you guys know. You're used to it by now, so I don't get taken down any sooner than I have to, since I'm just getting things rolling and stuff. So I thought it would be really cool to talk to you guys and reflect on some of these points that I took because, hey, Amy, how are you? Good to see you tonight. That I took. And I know people have Mr. T fatigue and are saying, you know, I want somebody else, or there's other people that can do maybe better and stuff like that. And so I thought this was a good opportunity to cover his points and see what you guys had to think or give you some points to ponder down the road, because as the candidates come out and these potentials, supporters, non-supporters, people running, it would be good to reflect on what Mr. T is going to run on and what he has to say, and see if these other people kind of tweak your ears and think, you know what, yeah, they're saying some of the things that I would like to have done as well. Or has Mr. T still got the fire in the soul to get everything done that you think needs to be done as far as saving this country? So the first point that I want to make is Mr. T said there'll be no cutting of Social Security for seniors. He said they paid it, they get it. He said there are plenty of other places to cut finances and cut monies. And I thought that was pretty impressive, because we always hear from a lot of people that it's going to run out. We don't have enough money. In the meantime, we're sending billions and trillions over to these foreign countries and helping them out. But once again, we're, foregoing the seniors and saying we're going to run out of finances for them, which isn't fair because they have paid it all their lives. So I'd be interested to see anybody else who's running or who's supporting whoever is running to see what they have to say about Social Security. We all know that some of us, like me, are getting up there in the not too far future. And of course, that's a big thing for us to be concerned about, is the finances that we've put in all these years, worked hard all these years, that of course we want the finances there. That's what we work for. That's our money. So that's one of the first points he made. Then he also said on day one, he is going to revoke Mr. B's new order establishing the Marx word, diversity, equity, and inclusion czars in every agency of the Fed government. He said, and he's going to restore the principle of equality under the law, because he took all that out and got all that taken care of. But Mr. B put that right back in when he came into office. And Mr. T was saying these are highly paid people that make $400,000 or maybe $450,000 a year. And he said basically it's destroyed the military, and the fact that the military should just be worrying about winning wars if they have to, and not worried about if some higher up yelled at them and made them upset or hurt their feelings, and then lawsuits ensue. So I thought that was a really good point. I thought that's a good point. So it'd be interesting to me to see what the other people have to say about all these different principles and him revoking this new executive order from Mr. B, because I agree with that one as well. Hey, John H., how you doing? Also, T said that he was signed a ban on CRT in September. He first signed it on CRT. He said he will once again get this poisonous ideology out of our government and our military and our lives. He said we don't want it. So it's poisonous, he said, and it's ideology. That's the word. So, the thing is, I agree with him on that as well. The CRT, we don't need any of that kind of stuff around. And like I said, I haven't heard a lot of other people and what they have to say about that. So once again, these are points that you may say, hey, he's been saying the same thing over and over. I know he's going to start the rallies again, but I think it's really important to revisit what he is saying, what he is telling us that he will do for this country come 2024, and compare that to what other people that are running or supporting, like I said, are what their policies are, what their feelings are, what their actions they're going to take are going to be on all these different issues. And once again, it's personal preference. If what I'm saying that he says is not important to you, that's fine. But make sure you know what your candidate or the person that you're going to do the V for stands for. It's very important, because this is, like he said, this is probably the last chance to save the country that we know, the country that we love, and put our our rights into action, voice our opinions, voice our concerns. This is the time to be very active in what is going on come 2024. It's very, very important. If you never really paid attention before, I agree with him. It's the last ditch effort to save everything that we value and everything that we want for this country. We've seen what's happened in 2 short years. And it's unrecognizable in this country, with so many of the different issues and the things that slide by, and the things that get supposedly the V word in. So we'll say signed in, because if I say that VO word, we know that that's going to be a problem. He also said that he's going to cut federal funding for any schools pushing the left-wing gender theory or any other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content to our children. And this one I can stand by 100%. And I can't see anybody that is going to try to not stand on something like this, because I've always said all along, our children are the innocents of this world. They're the ones we have to protect. There is a huge agenda against them from birth on up, from the amount of whats they have to get now compared to when we were young, to what they put in the minds, who is reading what to them, and what they're being exposed to, whether it's the music industry, the fashion industry, and it goes on and on. It's like they've got these kids from the time they're born all the way up. So by the time they're 20 some years old, they've been indoctrinated, and all this stuff that personally for me, I don't hold high in my morals and values at all. It's terrible. So he said, we want our children reading, writing, and doing arithmetic. And I'm all about that. Reading and writing and arithmetic. When they took cursive out of the schools, they took learning how to tie your shoe out of the schools. I remember my kids, when they were in elementary school, they said, you know what, it takes too much time for the kids to tie their shoes when they come in and out of recess, or if it comes untied, we want you to have Velcro shoes only. And everybody knows how easy is Velcro. It's on and it's off. So it's they start with those simple little things, and then it grows to a bigger monster. And that's why we're in the positions that we're in. So I'm all about anything that puts in the values and morals of the children, and teaching them the things that are really important in society, and how to be a good person, and how to have a mind for yourself, and not just being out there accepting anything and everything everybody says. So I'm all about that. He said also, I hadn't heard this before, maybe you guys did, but he talked about protecting the parents' rights, that we will elect our school principal. He said it will be just a simple, quick, direct election of school principals, and he's going to be promoting universal schools by school choice, which is a wonderful thing. So yeah, Amy, it does. It starts out so small. People don't even notice it at all. And then it turns into the bigger things where you see these people at school board meetings and they're wondering why these certain books are in the libraries, why historical books or books about God or any of that have been taken out. And then all these books about sexualization or, you can be a bear if you want to be a bear are the type of things in books that we're reading to our elementary children. And, I have a friend's daughter that was going to college to become a teacher, and she was telling us about the gender identity. They don't want boys with the boys and girls with the girls. If they automatically and naturally and organically just separate, and the girls are playing with the dolls and the boys are playing with the blocks or trucks, that you have to integrate them together, and you mix the dolls and the blocks and all that together, and they're all boys and girls are to play with both things. And she said that these were certain rules that they were teaching the teachers when she was going to college for this, and she couldn't believe it. And there was no pink and blue. They want it to be these rainbow colors. Boys do not be representative in blue. Girls do not be representative in pink. It's just everybody can do whatever. So I'm really all about, and I liked hearing what he had to say about the school system, the things he wants to get out, and the things he wants to support for our children. And once again, I'll be interested to hear what other people have to say about this, because, you may say, Mr. T, he had his chance, he's over with, blah, 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 blah. But when he came out tonight and I started writing some of these points down, I thought I really haven't heard that many other people talk directly about these points. So I'm hoping, that'll come around more and more as a little bit more time passes. Also, he said day one, he's going to revoke Mr. B's policies, their cruel policies on gender affirming, causing physical mutilation of the minor children, results in the children. And I love that too, because we all know, we've seen what can happen to, children can't do the V word. They can't drive till a certain age. They can't do this. They can't do that, but they're allowed to decide if they want their body to switch genders. And he said he's going to make sure that if this is day one, if he's in, that he's going to cease all the programs and sign a new executive order that is going to instruct the federal agencies to cease all these programs and all these concepts of the gender and sex transition. And he said at any age. It wasn't just for the minors. He said at any age. There's no going to be programs for this, because he said enough is enough. And I love that he can stand up for that and say that out loud, because at this time in the world, hey, SoCal Patriot, it's good to see you again. I just decided to pop on because I got all fired up about these different things that Mr. T was talking about. So I'm all about that, because we know how far this scale has slid. And he said that he's going to make sure all that is taken out. And that made me extremely happy. He also said that we are going to keep men the heck, well, he said double toothpicks. He said out of women's sports. And I can't agree with that more. It's one thing for an adult male to want to become female. They're an adult. They can make that decision. But then they want to play in women's sports. And I don't care if you have a different body part added or subtracted, your genetic makeup is still ideally male. It's still male. You can have hormones injected, you can have body parts added, but you are still strongular and muscular structurally stronger than a woman. Why do you think all these men that became women are dominating in women's sports? So I have my own personal ideas about why men become women and then want to compete in women's sports. You don't need to hear it at this point, but I couldn't agree with that more. It's just a shame that this is coming to this point. I don't think that's equal at all. I don't think that it's right. So I agree with that. I'd be interested, like I said, this is another major thing for me to see what other candidates or people that are running or are going to be running, what they have to say about this, because between the children in schools and then the men staying out of women's sports, that was really important to me to hear that tonight. I thought that was very impressive. As far as my opinion, what my wants are as somebody who's going to be elected running this country. I can agree with those wholeheartedly. Also, he said that he talked about polls a little bit, and this kind of made me laugh a little bit because he was saying that he's only up 7 points on Mr. B. And he said, but Mr. B has a 35 point base to start ahead of him because the unions all back him and stuff. And he said, how can you not remember Afghanistan and what he did there? And he says, how can I only be up 7 points? And he said, it's kind of embarrassing. And I really don't like to talk about it a lot. He goes, because it just seems strange. And that kind of made me laugh that, you know, it's not like he's lying about the points and stuff. He really is like, how does this work like this? And he said also he calls Ron DeSantis DeSanctimonious, and that was the first time that I had heard him call him like that nickname. You know, he has a nickname for people that he picks up here and there, and he was saying that he got 1.2 million more votes than Ron. And he said, but the press doesn't talk about it. And he said, when it comes to Kamala, he's leading her by 11 points. And, you know, I expect that because I'm not sure that I know or have seen that many people that are going to be behind Kamala. We'll see. Then he went into the next thing. He said, remember 2016 and what happened. And he said in 2020 that he did much better, and he believed they rigged it and they stole it. And he said the only reason, and I know people are sick about hearing that too, and then they say, oh, you need to move on and all this kind of stuff. I really believe we do need to fix the system. I really believe that. I do believe what he said about 2016 to 2020 is very true. But in the meantime, we have to still pay attention and stay alert and vigilant to these other people and what they have to say. And we still have to stay on top of who is for what, because we do have to go and cast our V word when it comes to 2024. So he said the only reason that these people don't want the VID is because they cheat. And he said the two things they do well, this side is they cheat very well, and they also can come up with stories very well, disinformation. So I have a question to you guys, and I wonder, when it comes to the VID, why is that such a big deal? Like, why can't we just simply eliminate all the electronic things that go on? Because we all know, especially those of you who are in the electronic world, we know that there's glitches. We know things go wrong. So why wouldn't we think they would go wrong when we electronically do something for our representatives, right? So what would be the harm to go back to the paper stuff, just paper and voter ID? I think that would eliminate a whole lot of things. So when people call us the conspiracy word, I think that is a disservice in the fact that I really do believe all these people that they're letting through the border is so they can eventually do the V word. And you know who they're gonna select. Let's use the word select. We know who they're gonna select is the people that were in charge at the time they got through our border and got to live here. Bypassing all the laws, all the legalities. They don't care that they've bypassed people who've waited 7, 8, 9 years to get here legally. They just care that they're here. So they're going to do whatever they want or they can to stay here. So if you don't think that they are bought and sold, I can't believe that. So like I said, I'm interested to see this coming around, this next round, what the opposition is going to say about all these different people, because we already know how good they're taking care of these. I'm going to call them invaders. I'm not even going to call them illegals. I'm going to say invaders, because it is an invasion into our country. And it's not fair, and it's not right to the citizens who are here. It's not fair, and it's not right to the people who come here fairly and legally through the right channels. And that's another big one for me as well. like I said, people seem to bypass all these people coming in, and it's the millions, it's by the millions. And they seem to think some of these that are still not paying that close attention aren't realizing that it is a lot of criminals, that the drugs are crazy that are being crossed the border now, that there are not just innocent, happy families coming through, that it's a lot of bad people, a lot of criminals, a lot of drugs and stuff like that. So if somebody thinks that we're exaggerating on that, I'd love to hear them provide proof and facts that we are in fact exaggerating it. I'd like to hear what their solutions are if they think the open border has always been that way, it should be that way, and we don't need that stupid wall, as they call it. I'd love to hear what their side of it is and what they think is the right way to handle all this, because we all remember and has been beaten to death. But it's true that our own citizens were held like criminals if we didn't have that thing right here on our face. But all these people coming through didn't need in the arm or the thing on their face. That makes zero sense to me. They didn't check them for different diseases. They didn't check them to see if they were super spreaders. Remember, we were all called super spreaders because we went out and we wanted to have family time together, Thanksgiving, holidays. We wanted to see our families, and we were the bad people in society, not these criminals crossing through the border. And I will tell you, I watched another video today, and I think a lot of you guys know of Frank Lopez Jr., the border patriot. I shared one of his posts on Facebook on my Tammy Nation Facebook page today, and he's still out there fighting the good fight. And he's one guy that I recommend if you have any doubts, no matter what side you're on, if you have doubts of what's going on that border, you watch that man and go look at some of his videos on his Facebook page and watch in live time what is actually going on and what is happening. It's an amazing atrocity what is happening to, and all the families and people that live there, all those cities around there. I mean, obviously they transport them all across the country, but I wouldn't want to be living there. Right on that border. I would not want to be living there. And I have to give a shout out to all the Border Patrol people who are doing the best they can do to fight this. When you don't have your government backing you, I can't imagine the stuff they deal with day in and day out. And they go home and try to live normally, and they can't, because right in their hometown, they know all these different people are around. And the majority of them are men, and the majority of them are criminals. And I say that with confidence from watching Frank Lopez Jr. for the last year or so, watching his videos and staying in tune to what is going on there. It's not just me looking at articles. It's not this or that. It's the live video day in and day out that goes in. The blood, sweat, and tears that man has put in to expose what is actually going on there has been incredible and amazing. And I think he's one of the heroes that will go down as one of the heroes should this ever get fixed. And we pray and hope that it does. Let me see. Southern Cal Patriot says we used to have to show our driver's license back in the day. That was still when it was only citizens. That's very true. That's very true. And it also changes the boundaries for voting through population count. That as well. That's why it doesn't matter how fatigued you guys get or people out there get from hearing Mr. T and what he has to say. Right now's the time to make sure you have notes on what he has to say and compare it to everybody else out there and what they're saying, so you can make an educated decision on who you want in that main chair when the time comes. Because it is pretty obvious to me of the things that have gone on in the last 2 years and how they were the 4 years before. And it isn't just one man. It's the support he had. Like he said, we had peace. And if you don't want Mr. T, then you want somebody that is going to do similar things and represent to me those policies where we have the low gas prices. You know, we had peace and calm. We weren't on the edge of war or battle and all that other stuff. And, you know, the economy was good. Look what happened to the economy in the last 2 years. You know, the shortages. I mean, how ridiculous in America that we had such a shortage of toilet paper that people, there was that one guy on YouTube that bought like $10,000 worth of toilet paper to hoard so he could try to make a profit selling it. And then he tried to sell it back to the company or the store, and they're like, oh, heck no. And, we have a shortage of eggs now. It's absolutely ridiculous. Also, as they push these electric cars, I'm not saying electric cars are bad. If people want electric cars, fine, but don't force people, because, it's like anything with a battery. You can only charge it so many times before you have to replace it. And then the charge doesn't last as long. And the big kicker for me is, where are all those battery parts made? Do you have any idea where those battery parts are made? It's in the Big C place that is supposedly Mr. B's friends and buddy, but they're certainly not our friends and buddy. And, if you remember, Mr. T had people paying us back the monies they owed us. When it came to the border, he told the story about going to the higher ups and saying that, he's got a list of 10 things that he wants. Otherwise, he's going to start charging these people. What was it? He said he was going to start charging them a 25% tax and tariff on any car or product that came from Mexico to the U.S. if they did not supply these 10 things on the list, that he was gonna charge them this. And he said, this is Thursday night. I'm going to give you till 8 a.m. Monday morning, and all 10 of these needs have to be met. And the lady laughed at him, and she was saying, we've tried to do this for 20 years. This is not going to happen. And the next thing you know, the second in command talked to the first in command and came back within like 5 or 10 minutes, he said, and said, sir, everything that you want is a done deal. I don't see the leader in charge right now doing anything for us like Mr. T did. He's not strong on any policies other than doing handouts to Ukraine and all these other countries. Palestine, Ohio is their people are in dire need. Things were kaboffled there. Things were majorly screwed up. The more time that passes, we see how mishandled that whole train derailment and that chemical spill was mishandled. And Buttigieg, what's he facing for this? And here's Mr. B, not even in the country. He's not even visiting. Then the next thing you know, FEMA was not going to supply anything to these people who can't drink the water, who can't really bathe in the water, cook in the water. Who would want to do that in this rainbow colored, toxic filled water? Who knows the repercussions that we're going to have of that in 5 or 10 years? He's over there. And, Mr. T announced he was going to go there Wednesday. And the next thing you know, people are coming out, FEMA's going to come out and stuff like that. So like Mr. T or not, he gets things done. He knows how to get things done. We need leadership in this country like we've never needed before. I mean, I don't think it's ever been in the shape that it's in, where us as U.S. citizens are like third-rate people. The foreign people, the criminals coming in, are treated far better than us, and it just needs to stop. So, like I said, it's good to write these points down, pay attention, and go to people that in your circles that maybe never cared that much before, or didn't, do the selections before, or maybe got bored with it. Maybe the fatigue, it's time to say you need to get over the fatigue, or it's going to just be a lot worse. And, sit and have a conversation with them. You don't have to say who you have to, select, but you should say, let's compare. Let's take the actual person out of it and see just the shape of the country, with the food shortages, with the gas prices, with, these Green New Deals that are supposed to be so great, but they're not. Let's just have this conversation. And I think it's just a good time to start that. Hey, Becky Justice, it's good to see you. Yeah, Becky, I just came back not that long ago, and I don't have a set schedule. I just kind of pop on and off as I find my footing here, but it's really good to see you too, sweetie. Also, what was the other thing they did? Oh, he said that also, speaking about the border, it's the human trafficking. He said that when he was in office, we had the lowest numbers in 4 decades. Okay. He said now the numbers are 5 times higher. The drugs were down, and I've already covered that part. But I mean, to go from the lowest number of human trafficking in decades to it being 5 times higher, that right there is a direct correlation to policies and who's in charge. And you can't say, well, Mr. T left us in a certain shape and it's his fault, because I noticed that a lot of times the current administration always wants to blame the previous administration for what's going on if it's not good. If it is good, they want to take all the credit. But I think that some of this stuff that's going on in the last 2 years is pretty obvious, because there were major policy changes. A lot of what Mr. T put into effect, Mr. B, the first day in office, started just, just taking it away. And, that whole thing about the pipelines, we know about that. That was one of the main things Mr. B was so proud of doing. And we all saw the circumstances and the repercussions of that decision. So a lot of these, to me, are major, major issues that whoever is going to try to sit in that seat and be our leader really has to pay attention to draw the people in and get them to be on their side. We all do want change from, I believe most of us, I won't say all, most of us want change from what we have now. And it takes more than one person, obviously. And like I said before, you don't have to like somebody for their personality, but you look at their policies and you look at how your family is as a result of those policies and what they're doing to you and your family. A lot of families were doing pretty good. We're able to take some vacations, travel a little bit, at least could do on what I call like a little weekend or day getaway, where it's a 1-tank car trip where you just fill your car up with gas, you drive somewhere on a half a tank, you spend some time with family or a spouse or whatever, you have a good time, you go out on an adventure for the day, and then you come back home. We had freedoms and finances, most of us, to be able to do that, where now it's ridiculous when you have memes out there in the world that for Valentine's Day, men and women should get each other a carton of eggs. That's, to me, that's pretty sad. That's pretty sad. And Southern Cal, I agree with that. She said we need, or Southern Cal, he or she, I'm not sure which, need T for another 4 years to bring us back, then hand the torch over to another. That's a possibility. Yeah. I certainly know I can't see Kamala at all. If she goes, oh gosh, you guys, I don't think I could survive. I don't think I'd go so well. I think I'd be a very sad or crazy person, worse than I am now. Let me see. What was the other thing? He was going to reenact the Remain in Mexico, which means anybody that was coming up to the border, they needed to stay in Mexico. And he needed 28,000 soldiers to protect the border, and that Mexico would pay for that. Everybody laughed that off. Everybody thought that wouldn't happen. That's one of the 10 things that he wanted that he got that is now gone. They were footing the bill for that. And once again, here it is, we've got open borders, and we're the ones that pay the price for this. I'm sure all these other countries are so happy we have an open border, because all those people can leave their country and start being criminals here, and they don't have to worry about it as much there, right? It's just spreading the criminality across the country. And that is a very, very sad thing to me. Also, people knocked him about being friends with Putin. And he said, basically, why did people laugh at that? And why is it such a bad idea if you can be not friends, but cordial with your so-called enemy? He said, if I were still in office, he would have, Mr. P would have never entered the Ukraine. And people laughed at him, and he just doesn't get that. He said, this isn't a bad thing. Why would it be a bad thing? And I have to agree with that. Sometimes you can have an enemy, but you keep your enemy close, and you keep an eye on what each other are doing, right? You have a mutual, I don't want to say respect, but a mutual understanding. You don't mess with me, I'm not going to mess with you. If I see you in passing, I see you in passing. As long as you're not causing trouble for me and I don't cause trouble from you, we'll just keep our own grounds. And I don't see anything wrong with that either. We all see what Mr. B's doing now when it comes to Ukraine and funding them and helping. And it's not about the innocent citizens. As far as we have to do it to protect them, they are innocent. I get that. But unfortunately, Ukraine isn't a very up and legit country either. It's very detrimental for them. My heart does bleed for them. I have friends who are from the Ukraine who are very good people. And they've told me many, many stories, and they still have family there. So I've asked a lot of questions over the last few years of these friends that I have. And they say it's corrupt there. If you have money, you can pay off the police. You can pay off certain people and get things done. And it's very sad there. So I don't know. That's a very tough call. But is that a call we should get involved in at this time when we have so many of our own people that are suffering and need help? And once again, that's another thing I want to pay attention to with this coming up in 2024, you guys. How are their stances on the military? How are their stances on taking care of veterans? How are their stances on taking care of the elderly? How are their stances on taking care of our children? What are their stances on the schools? What do they think about these different transgender parties, birthday parties, and events they have in adult bars with young children, minor children, and having the minor children tossing dollars to these transgender dancers, and these children are in these bars dancing provocatively. I mean, I stop and think, how do we get to this point in this country? It's very sad, but I've never been so sad, but so energized to make sure that my voice is heard, make sure that I do what I can do to make the changes that need to be changed, to be out there in the community around here where I'm at and get them actively involved. And once again, it doesn't, if you're not a person that likes to be in the forefront, or a camera in your face, or a microphone in front of your mouth, you can at least be involved by, at one time I filled out different cards with addresses that were just different promotion cards for different candidates for different events or different things to get people to go. I mean, you can do that. You can go to these different gatherings and churches and stuff and just fill out addresses on cards that they mail out. Or you can just call your local representatives. I know you've heard that before, and give your vocal stance on it. Or maybe you want to just toss out flyers to different mailboxes and stuff. Get in your car for the day, get a friend, gather up, get in your car, spend the day, grab a coffee, laughing and talking with your friend while you're handing out these flyers. It's an easy thing to do. Grab lunch, hand out the rest of your flyers and call it a day. So I've learned many, many ways to become involved. If you want to be on the forefront and be a voice, there's plenty of opportunities there. If you want to stay in the background and kind of incognito without your name and face being out there, there's ways to do that as well. And I'll tell you what, I don't blame you. I've got a couple friends that are like, oh, no way. I just don't have it in me. I don't want my face out there. I don't want my voice out there publicly, but behind the scenes, I'll do whatever I can to help. And, basically it's going to take all of us doing whatever we can to get this country back. And you're right, Southern Cal Patriot. We need to stay out. It's all NATO, it is, and NWO and move, yes, because all that got reinstated again. Yes, it's terrible. We as citizens, we have way more power than I think people give ourselves credit for. I will say also trying to reach out to the younger generations, because where I'm at and the events that I've attended, they can't stress enough how they need younger people to be involved, because a lot of the people are really up there past retirement age, and God bless them. They're doing the tough, hard work, and they have been for many years, but we need to replenish the supply, just like the military replenishes its supply, or, teachers replenish teachers that retire. It's the same thing with so-called active people, or I don't want to say that other word, but people that are involved in government. When you look at the Matt Gaetzes of the world, or, people like that are on the younger end, I mean, like him or not, he's just an example, or the Charlie Kirks and people like that. We need people like that. We need that younger generation. We need to reach out and have conversations with that younger generation, and try to have conversations so we can get both sides, because boy, what they've grown up in is completely different than what all of us have grown up in. It's crazy. And I think that's how we leave this world a better place when it's our time to go, to know that we did the best we could do for the younger generations and the generations that we leave behind. Because as humans, as parents, as grandparents, isn't it our duty? Isn't that, even if it's not our, you don't think it's a duty, isn't that from the heart what you want to do? You want to leave the world a better place than when you were in it, to be able to say, hey, I did the best I could do, and I'm leaving it to you in the best shape I could, because I, instead of staying back and not doing or saying anything, not speaking my voice, I just sat there waiting for somebody to save us. And I'm sorry, but it didn't happen. I would rather say I fought tooth and nail and educated myself. And I'm not smart on all these politics or these legislative moves and these laws, but there are people that I surround myself with that are, and they're smarter and they're patient, and they want to teach me. They don't think any question is stupid, because how are we ever going to learn if we don't act and ask and get out there? You just got to put yourself out there. If you haven't been involved in politics, or you haven't in government, or you've been busy doing other things in your life and you're used to just going and, you hear certain things in the media and that's who you decide to select, that's fine. But now's not a time for that anymore. I think that it's been proven to us that the last 2 or 3 years, actually 4 years, because Mr. T got me reignited into all of it again, because he was somebody to me that led the charge to show us how bad things are, how corrupt things are, and yet how we can all get involved to make change. So I will always give that man credit for that. I will give the man credit for working his buttocks off for the 4 years he was in office, and for the years now that are coming up, he's still out there working hard. And like I said, like him or not, who else can you name that's out there doing it, hitting it as hard as him? So many people want to pick him apart and say, well, he promised this, or he's too slow on this, and this didn't come true. Who else is hitting the pavement like he has? I don't think there's anybody. There are some that come close that fight in Congress, that try to get things passed, to try to working hard behind the scenes, try to bring attention to the different things that we think are falling through the cracks. With the different numbers, with the selections and all that. Those are battles that are still going on. But we all know that court takes a long time. We all know the system is congested and backed up. We know that lawyers will use loopholes to cause delays and or drain funds, or to let people get fatigued and over it and say, just move on. There are many, many different devious little ways that people, a gamut of people, depending on what you're fighting, will delay and draw you out what in courts and with laws and legislation. So much red tape, as they say. But for the short time I think Mr. T was in office, he did a pretty darn good job with getting things done with all the opposition he faced. Mr. B really isn't facing much opposition at all, it seems. And I don't know anything that he's got done that's for the benefit and the good of this country. I would behoove it for anybody who supports him or his policies to come up with a list of 10 things that he's done that's been positive and pro-America. I don't know that you can come up with 10 that are stabilized at all. So that's unfortunate. And I think that's why the country is in the shape that it is in. If you want to blame the previous administration, I think that's a cop-out and that's a cowardly thing to do. I don't hear him speaking up and out and brave about anything. If anything, he gets angry. He goes from being happy to sad to stumbling to trying to jog upstairs to as long as he gets his ice cream every now and again, he seems to function okay. It's just, I think the other leaders of the world are laughing at us, and we have never been in a more vulnerable position than we are now. And I think it's just really, really time to pay attention and hunker down in this next year and really know what you're doing when you draw that little line of who you're going to select. And that comes for the local people as well. Exert some energy and paying attention to the people in your local communities that run, and make sure that you know what policies they have and they stand for. I know for the summer here that you know, Ted Cruz, and there were a lot of people that showed up at different events here, and it was pretty amazing, because when you're not involved in this stuff, they can come and go and you don't know it. But once you get tied in to the system and you join a few Facebook pages or social media pages, or go to their actual website, they have the events, and it's easy just to go out for the day for an hour, stand outside or inside, wherever they're having it, and just listen to these people speak, see what they have to say. I know a lot of them will say what they think you want to hear just to get selected, but other than that, you can also tell by body language and action. So after you see them speak, see if they have the follow through and follow through with what they have to say. Because a lot of times we trust people at their word. And I'm telling you, you can't do that anymore. You just really can't. Well, that's about it for today. I think I did a lot of talking for 45 minutes in. Like I said, I really felt pressed to go on these different points, you guys, and just refresh everybody's memory. I just really liked how he still had a passion for what he was saying. That's another thing, that the people that you watch or that you may choose, make sure they have the passion behind the voice, the speech. You can tell if it's organic. You can tell if there's a passion behind it, or if it's just a promise that they're just going to pretty much blow to the wayside once they get elected in. But I'll tell you, Mr. T has done a pretty darn good job of keeping all his promises that he made. I hope that the people that are coming up, and doesn't matter what side they're on, that they also have the passion to save this country as well. Because like I said, this is a dire time, and it's a time we really need to ensure that we're dug in and we have our wits about us and get our emotions away, whether you like him or not, or these other candidates, or if you just want something fresh and new. Make sure that the fresh and new that you're selecting is in a line with what your priorities are as well. Because for me, like I said, one more time, I'll say it again, the military, the elderly, and the children are the big deals to me. And you take care of the elderly and you take care of the children, you take care of the military that keeps us safe. It's pretty much a win-win, in my opinion. We can get through pretty much anything else. So that's it for tonight. Like I said, I just popped on. I really appreciate you guys coming on a Monday night. I know a lot of people have to get up, including me, and work in the morning, but I consider it an honor to be here with you guys, and that you would spend your time with me. And some of you I haven't seen in a while, so it's really good to see you. And I'm going to call this a wrap for tonight, and I will see you guys on the next one. Love y'all. God bless. Bye-bye.